Hello, good morning, afternoon, and night for all of you BBR fans. It is your host of the most, bringing you guys more BBR draft pick'ems for this matchup here for the BBR Season 8 rosters. If you guys are excited, leave a like if you haven't already, subscribe if you're new, join the crew today because you'll be thrilling with the king of the crew. And ladies and gentlemen, we are here in week 3 and we had some absolute bangers. Now, there are still a couple of week 2 matches as of recording this have not been fully played yet, but I already know some of the results and I will not spoil any of the results until further notice. Now, I will make note of those spoilers in the comments, in the description or in the comment section below. But figured just in case, I don't want to get too far behind on recording these pick'ems. Obviously, maybe I gotta record some of these pick'ems in advance. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys and give you guys about a minute or 2 minutes to skip through what I'm about to say because it does spoil the results for week 2. If you're not seeing any of the week 2 battles, definitely skip this video until you see those week 2 battles. But here we go in 3, 2, 1 for week 2 results. Kurt has picked up the win against Ant in a very narrow 1-0 victory. We have Tiro who picked up a win. First is I don't think it was 1-0 actually. I'm thinking of like my scoring system basically. Tiro versus Arc. Tiro had walked away with the win, so I'm actually very happy to change my mind last second during those pick'ems on who I wanted to win. We have Leo picking up the win against Pokebaldi. We have unfortunately Owen losing to Amel, and that was definitely a 1-0 narrow loss there. But like I said, that definitely could have gone either or, as Amel is an incredibly talented battler. So, not too surprised to see Amel has won that one, but at least it was a really good game. Game of the season being Panther versus John, and your boy called it right again and got myself 2 points, one for guessing the match right, and the second bonus point for it being the match of the week that I selected, and I got the winning prediction. So just from there alone, we got 5 points out of the other team. So we have a chance here to get a grand total. Hold on, three, six, of 9 points. So we scooped up five. So we've got to only win. Oh, hold on, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Three, six. Yeah, it should be nine. Two, three, five. Oh no! I can only get like an 8 out of 9, basically, is the highest. All right, I'm blanking on everything, and this is unprofessional, but we don't care here. We obviously love entertainment. So we're here for week 3. Let's talk about week 3. If you guys are excited though, leave a like down below and let me know again who you think is gonna win week 3 here. And with that, I've got the teams, and I want you guys to know I have handwritten down all the weeks that are going into week 8. I went that far with it to get in touch with it just to make sure we had all the teams preferred, and that way I don't have to go to the schedule tab and spoil any game results or to be able to stay on top of everything, which is really great. But anyways, let's start talking about games. The first game we're going to talk about here this week is going to be Kurt and the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise taking on Leo 6-foot Hacks and the Carolina Hacksters. This should be an awesome matchup. It should be really, really fun, really, really good. So let's talk about Kurt's team again here. And you can see Kurt's team. He has Gouging Fire, Treads, Rillaboom, Azel, Primarina, Muck, Rapid Strike, Electrode, and Galabro. And Leo has actually made one transaction as of late going into this week. He also has Terrapagos, Roaring Moon, Orgron, Wellspring, Hatterene, Cobalion, Alamola, Clodsire, Thunderous Therian, Sinistra, and now newly acquired Magneton. Now, unfortunately, Magneton is not coming. This is another Gouging Fire destroys all. But Shroom Raver is the only person to show the most broken Sinistra set that can beat it. Now, be granted, Terra was a thing, so it's still going to be a little bit of a problem. But this is another, yet again, fantastic Gouging Fire matchup. The only things that Gouging Fire is going to struggle a tiny bit dealing with is like a physically defensive Clodsire, a very annoying physically defensive Strength Sap Sinistra, and then obviously dealing with trying to outspeed Roaring Moon and trying to get that speed control. But overall, Gouging Fire matches up really well. Rapid Strike also does very well into this matchup. There is a certain since these are gonna get uploaded before the battles go live, and then most of them get played before they're actually going up live. If Kurt has any factory workers in his prep areas that know how to cook, they would know how to cook that if you actually run ability shield, you can go past. I'm pretty sure ability shield would let you. I don't know if you have to hold ability shield or if you hold it. I think you have to hold it in order for. Never mind then. Because ability shield, I was thinking like ability shield, Urshifu, then you can just be able to click rapid strike into Clawzar, but I don't think that's how ability shield works. So never mind. But rapid strike looks really great in this matchup as well. Rapid strike really punches a lot of things hard in the face. Iron Treasure is also pretty decent, but I don't realistically think you bring it this matchup with having Thunderous, also with Sinistra and stuff, but there's still a very McMahon of it. Rillaboom, I feel like you are kind of forced to not really bring because of the fact of Sinistra getting the boost of terrain. Also giving the benefactors things like Cobalion, which want to resist the ground hits. But more importantly, you don't want Wellspring to be doing the work here against this team. Funny enough, I actually think there's a really funny Glowbro set that could actually do pretty well in this matchup as well. But there's other things. Just looking back at his team, Primarina also just goes really hard into Leo's team. Obviously, there's a couple of things that you have to be a little careful about. The Alone Muck also does very well into a lot of things here. And just overall, I think Kirby's team is just really, really good. Now, going back to Leo's team, what are the biggest threats that Leo has going to Kurt's team? Well, offensively, I think the Roy Moon and Ogre Pond Wellspring duo, again, are super strong into a lot of things that Kurt has. I think Hatterene actually provides really good support and good offensive merit in this matchup. Terapagos, a really good, reliable defense, a really good defensive piece for this team if it really needs to. It has decent merits to be offensive. I definitely think you are forced to bring Alomola simply because of Gouging Fire and being your only best real switch into Gouging Fire. I think that's your biggest thing you're forced to bring here. Cobalion, I could see something like Scarf, which could do really well in the matchup, or Choice Band, whichever you want to go with here. Clawzar, I think you should bring, but at the same time, it's a little tough to bring. Thunderstarian, I feel like has like a 50-50 matchup. Citizen, I think you're almost again kind of somewhat forced to bring, and I don't think you bring Magneton whatsoever. But I didn't just look at the pieces. Leo definitely has a good defensive background to kind of check a couple of things, but I don't know if he checks everything. Because Aloe would be definitely pressured to check two Pokemon for the same reasons, which Aloe, be granted, based off what it has to be, Aloe can definitely do both. It can definitely handle both of them. In terms of how I'm predicting this is a match I think can kind of go either way, but I'm actually leaning towards Kurt again this week. I think Kurt's like gouging fire for the last from week 2 to this week, gouging fire is just so goddamn hard to counter. You have one Pokemon that pretty much counters this thing. Now I know a lot of people would say two with Sinistcha, but until Sinistcha can Terra, I don't think it's a counter. So overall, I feel like excuse me. Overall, I feel like Leo is definitely pressured into this matchup. So I am actually going to go ahead and write down Kurt for this week. I think also Kurt has just got a good way of knowing how Leo likes to play as they used to play together before. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup to say the least. Up next for the next game we're going to talk about here, we've got my boys Owen OG Albino taking on my other main man, the man that's going to prove to me that Morpeko can be good. And I made a deal with D-Ray. I will personally make a video explaining why Morpeko is a great Pokemon, all these positive things and everything, and I will donate $100 to D-Ray. But he has to get like I think I said he has to get 3 kills in like one game. I think is what I said. I can double check my comment in a minute. But anyways, I'm putting the pressure on D-Ray here. So let's talk about D-Ray's team real quick, and we'll talk about Owen's team, and we'll kind of go back and forth based on what I think here. So we have Goldango, Hisuian, Samurai, Gliscor, Infernape, Tentacruel, Rabombe, Electros, Porygon, the Ogerpon, Coderstorm, and Morpeko, while Owen's team is consistent of Iron Valiant, Chi, Glamora, Swampert, Metagross, Talonflame, Decidueye, Haxorus, and Lantern. So kind of a little quick of a phase back and forth here. I really think you look at this team, Chi Yu plus Iron Valiant is damn near impossible for D-Ray to check. These two are just way too hard for him to really find a way to move around here. I also think Talonflame looks really good this matchup, but I could see Decidueye as being more safer of the two that revives on default support, which I think is really good. But let's talk from D-Ray's side more here. But from D-Ray, I think the main thing that Owen's going to have to stress a tiny bit about is going to be that Infernape. Infernape is very good into Owen's team. Any solid fire type is going to do really well into a couple of the matchups, especially since Infernape does have the coverage it needs to beat a lot of the checks that Owen does have. Now, Owen does have two water types that can be able to combo wise beat the Infernape, which is really great. But again, you're wasting about a Pokemon and a half or wasting over half of the HP of one Pokemon just to take down one. So definitely think that's gonna be something that he's got to be very careful, especially with having Ogerpon, Stone to pair with Infernape this matchup as well. It's gonna be really tough for Owen to really be careful around the Infernape, especially since he does not have the best switch-ins to dual stab on his entire team. Ground type being Gliscor. Oh, excuse me. Now, I know I said ground types really mess up Owen's team, but I think in terms of this matchup, Gliscor, it definitely can come and just stack a lot of hazards. But if I'm going to be completely honest, Gliscor is not that threatening to Owen's team. I think Owen can actually be able to realistically take on Gliscor a lot. I think Gliscor is forced to either be physically defensive or especially defensive in this matchup, as he needs some way to be able to check the to you, I do not think you break like I don't think you break Goldego. Goldego doesn't really match up that well in Owen's draft, in my personal opinion. I think this is a really good Hisuian Samurai matchup, though. Hisuian Samurai does a lot of work into Owen's team if he's not careful with how he plays, and also depending on the set that D-Ray ends up bringing. Tentacruel, you might see brought for T Spikes as you have a water type that can beat his poison type, and you have a growing rabbit spinner as well. But I don't know. It's a little bit contradictory. I don't think you bring Rababi. Excuse me. I've just been yawning a lot. I wake up early in the morning, do a lot of stuff. So it's been a very long morning slash beginning afternoon for me. Electros, definitely could see Electros. It's definitely a bit decent merit for a thing to come. I think Porygon Z definitely could be scary, man. I think something like an Agility Choppleberry set can be really bad for Owen, especially if Z-Ray gets the right three moves, because I think he definitely needs Dry Attack. He needs Dark Balls for Metagross and for Decidueye. And then that last move, because I don't think you fit Dual Dance. If there's anything I know for a fact, if you bring PZ, it's not Dual Dance. It's probably Agility and then just Offensive. Now, the reason why I think D-Ray should not be something like Life or Silk Scarf is because I feel like if he can be able to mitigate a potential Choice Specs Valiant that has Vacuum Wave and stuff on there, he needs to be able to take one hit. Ogerpon does really well in this matchup as well, but I don't know if he's going to fully bring it because it gets pressured by the Valiant and the Metagross. So that's something that we have to be very mindful of. And the Morpeko, let me look at Owen's team one more time. I mean, Morpeko actually isn't that half bad in the Owens team. D-Ray has to play around the hunger switch though in order to make it work, but it's actually possible to bring Morpeko here. And Owen, if you get beaten down by Morpeko, I ain't never letting you live that down. And I will never let you live that down. But now let's talk about Owen's team. Like I said, Iron Valiant plus Chi. Like, can you really not beat? Like, there's no way you can really beat this core. Glamora is a little bit pressured in this matchup. I feel like a little bit to be brought because of the fact that you need a hazard setter in this matchup. But I do think Glamora definitely has some shots to show up. Metagross, I think, has a decent chance to show up as well. But I do think Owen has to get a little creative with the set to work in exactly what he wants. I think Talonflame can fit in this matchup as well. I do think Talonflame has to be very, very cautious about what he does in terms of this matchup. I think Decidueye also can be very well brought into this matchup as well. Both Waters and Swampert and Lantern have very good merit into this matchup, and then Haxorus can just punch people in the nose. Because I realistically think D-Ray should not bring his Steel or his Fairy. And the reason why I say that is that Hackstress can have the coverage for both, but both of them just do not do that good in the matchup. Like Golgundo, it would be the only one of the two that can possibly come, but I really don't think it should when there's two fire types, a ground type, and a ghost type that can beat your ghost type, and a Hackstress that has the coverage to beat you. So, in my opinion, if D-Ray was to bring either Goldango or Rabombi, I think he has a better chance to bring Goldango. But again, I think Owen's team counters the Goldango relatively well, where it's going to pressure the Goldango to potentially not even be brought. But based off what I'm looking at here in terms of like hazards, I do think Owen is going to be a little bit of a hazard week to not hazard week, but hazard week. Try to set him up, as I don't know. I think the best thing he's going to be able to get is maybe like one like rocks and maybe spikes and T spikes, but just really depends on how D-Ray counteracts it. But if I had to pick between these two, I am going to pick Owen for this matchup. I just think the Chi Iron Valiant combo is super hard for D-Ray to deal with. And I also think that when you factor in a potential Talonflame and or Decidueye, or even both to an extent, like those two as well do amazing to D-Ray's team as well. So overall, I'm picking my boy Owen this week. And hopefully he won't let me down this week. Up next, we have the next match, and this is a pretty interesting matchup, a first time ever matchup as well. We have Arc of the Jamestown Judgment taking on Panther and the Carolina Fables, which is going to be a really cool matchup here. I really think there's a lot of cool factors that can go into this match. So let's talk about Ark's team here. He has Greninja, Latias, Corviknight, Ogerpon, Heartflame, Cleavor, Hisuian Gudra, Regieleki, Gardevoir, Hisuian Goldfish, and Sandaconda, while Panther has the sand team of Excadrill, Cinderace, Keldeo, Galarian Weezing, Raikou, Salamence, Galarian Articuno, Titar, Quagsire, and Appletun. So looking at this matchup, Greninja can go absolutely crazy if it is put in the right position and is played correctly. Latias is very fantastic, just like Latios. Latios is also very fantastic into Panthers team, just for a lot of merits of reasons and stuff like that, and just a very good mon. Corviknight, again, one of the best checks in the game to Excadrill, so I do think the Excadrill is pressure to even not be brought into this matchup, which I think is really good. Heart Flame actually does relatively well into the matchup. It does struggle a little bit against a few other things, but it does match up pretty well into most things. Cleavor is very, very strong into the Panthers team, as Cleavor has got very little switch-ins, and whatever little switch-ins he can just get a U-turn momentum off or have the coverage. Suyin Gudra, kind of a mixed bag here, but I do think it matches up pretty decently well. We're not going to talk about Regieleki because that's a bad Pokemon. Gardevoir is going to be a massive threat for Panther. I think Gardevoir does insanely well with the coverage that it has into this matchup. He's doing Quillfish. Again, it's going to be one of those mons that it's going to be really careful how you play around, especially with having Intimidate. But overall, I think it does decently well. Sandaconda also another fantastic mon in this matchup that shuts down a lot of things and can just really be a fat, annoying Pokemon that can really do a lot of work. So pretty solid squad going into this week where we talk about Panthers team. Panther, I really don't think can afford to bring his Extradil this matchup. I just think there's too many factors into this match that could stop Extradil from sweeping. So I don't realistically know if you bring that thing. Cinderace does have a pretty solid matchup here. This is the team. It does definitely do well into a lot of things with U-turn pivoting and just power balls in general. Keldeo, again, kind of a weird one. It's not the worst mon into this matchup, but I feel like it almost would be forced to be brought into this matchup for the things like Cleavor, Hisui, Gudra, and even the Ogerpon. But again, I just don't really know how well it matches up. Hisuian, not Hisuian, I keep saying Hisuian. Galarian, Weezing, again, another one I don't really know if you bring because I don't realistically know what you want to bring. I don't know if you want to really go levitate or misty or neutralizing gas. I mean, neutralizing gas would be a nice safe middle ground for a lot of coaches in the matchup. But I don't know. It just really kind of depends on how you work at it and what you do with it. Raikou, even though I kind of say it was kind of bad in this matchup, Raikou's not terrible. It has the great coverage it has. Aura Spear, Scald, Electric Move, and that's pretty much all it needs. It could have Shadow Ball if it really wants to take on the Gardevoir as well, so it could be like an AV for attack set, or Specs, or Calm Mind, and those three other attacks I had mentioned besides Shadow Ball. So there's very, very many to that. Salamence, kind of really don't know. I feel like you go more of a special, like a mixed mints in this matchup with things like Earthquake, Hurricane, Fire Blast, stuff like that. But I don't really know if you bring it. Galarian Articuno, also another Pokemon that I do not think matches. I mean, it matches decently into this team, but I don't think it's going to be coming at all. T-Tar, if you're not bringing Sand, I don't think it's worth bringing at all, especially in this matchup. Quagsire is not the worst thing to be brought in this matchup, but I think it would be nice to have something with unaware. The Apple though, the Apple can kind of do some work in this matchup, which actually can kind of help him. But again, he gets pressured by the things like the shooting Gudra, Quillfish, Gardevoir, and the Latias and the Greninja. So I definitely think Panther has got a very, very, very tough matchup. But Panther does have experience over Arc, and I think that's going to be one of the big things that Panther's going to try his best to do in this. But for the sake of the matchup, I am going to be picking Arc for this week. And I'm going to be confidently saying Arc this week. Just because I really feel like Arc just really has the tools and the team to really counter Panther really well. So we're gonna get into the next matchup here, and we have my boy John, the Portland Knights Shaders, with the one of the few undefeated teams in the league right now. So that's gonna be really, really cool. But he has got Latios, Annihilate, Scizor, Weavile, Comfey, Sandy Shock, Skarmory, Overquill, and Arachnid. He is taking on the coach Baldy here, right over here with Garchomp, Galarian, Slowking, Enamorous, Heatran, Kilowattrel, King Gambit, Serena, Dondozo, and Titan. So let's look from Pokebaldi's perspective. With Pokebaldi's team, there's actually quite a bit of a bad Kilowattrel matchup here. Kilowattrel really does the work into John's team, which he does have to be very careful and mindful about that. Heatran really going to be kind of not realistically able to rot unless he has really got the right support to bring in to stop Latios, so he can check Latios to a certain extent. Galarian Slowking's definitely coming. Galarian Slowking just does so well into the matchup. It just does. It's not even funny. I don't think he's going to bring Snow this week, though. I think with having Skarmory on the team, I feel like Snow is a little tough to bring with the Titan unless the Titan's belly draw. But again, I just don't really know if you really do that. King Gambit, don't really think you bring King Gambit this matchup. I think it's very easily exploitable and taken advantage of very easily in this match. It could still possibly show up, but I don't think there's any guarantee. Enamorous Incarnate 100% comes. Now, the only best check to John's team with Enamorous is literally going to be Scizor, and that's not good. And if this is also like a physical Enamorous to take advantage of Intimidate from Overquill, it's going to be doing a lot of work as well. I will say Enamorous is a little pressured with both having Skarm and the Scizor there, so definitely something very, very keep in mind. But I do think that he has some tools there. Serena, don't really think it comes, but it's got the tool. It's got a really good move pool into John's team, so I wouldn't be too surprised. But I don't really know. Dondozo, I definitely think comes. Dondozo being just a really fat defensive wall for Baldy's team is going to be really good. And then Garchomp, do you think Garchomp has a fair shot to be brought? I definitely think you have to go with something like a scale shot set though, for sure in this matchup. And I feel like you just have to really run either full on special or a good mix set that really matches it well. Looking at John's team here, John's Latios once again is going to do so much good work into this matchup. I also think Scizor does fantastically well in offensively pressuring a lot of teams. I really wish they let it keep Sandtomb so I can be able to check that Heatran really well. Don't really know if you bring Weavile this matchup. Weavile definitely has a good enough matchup to really match up a lot against some things, but I don't really know if you're gonna full on bring it. It's definitely worth like the fifth or sixth slot to the team. Comfey, don't really think you bring that. Comfey is really not that great of a mon in this matchup. Sandy Shocks, 80 Shocks, definitely does relatively well in this matchup as well. I do think though if you do bring both Scizor and Skarmory, that is going to be a little bit problematic, especially if Heatran does come, because Heatran can realistically then be a third of your team. So definitely something that's going to be very mindful about that if he brings it. Overquill, it's Overquill's not bad, but I don't really know if you bring it. I do think Arachnid does really well in this matchup, actually. Offensively, it does fantastic. It really punishes a lot of teams. Like, Choice Band Water Bubble has little switch-ins on this team. So based on what I'm looking at here, John's matchup is a little bit more better, but I do think John does have the preference and prep for the bulk of all these teams he's going to provide against him. But I think I'm going to pick John this week. I just think John's team matches up a lot better. I don't actually know if John will be confident enough to bring Annihilate this matchup unless he's got a really good Annihilate prep though this week, but I don't really know. And like I said, there's like a lot of Pokemon that John actually can kind of bring to this matchup. There's only like maybe one or two he might not bring, which is going to be like the Comfey and maybe the Skarmory. Maybe I don't know, but it really just depends. But Scizor just does so well as an offensive breaker slash pivot in this matchup. So sorry for yawning, guys. But yeah, I think overall just John's matchup's a lot better. Up next, we've got Matt here, coach of the Whimsicops, with the Great Tusk Raging Bolt. No, my bad. The Dawn Fan, the Girafarig, the Terrakion, the Zarude, the Mudsdale, the Turtonator, the Copalion, the Impidimp, the Basculin, and the Growlithe Dog. So, he is taking on Coach Amel, which I think they've actually faced off before. And I think Matt witnessed firsthand what Amel is capable of when it comes to the heat. But Amel is got Darkrai, Petrobron, Quaquaval, Clefable, Baxcalibur, Chestnut, Hisuian, Arcanine, Espeon, Sandslash, and Noctowl. Looking at this match, it is going to be a very hard time for Matt to really be able to break through Clefable. He only has really one way to, besides just other wall breakers to pair with. Oh, excuse me. Darkrai is going to be such a massive problem. Darkrai plus Petron and Clefable is going to be so hard to deal with this. I really think Matt is going to have to struggle really hard to try to figure out a way around this. I also think Caliber is stupidly good in this matchup. I also think Asune Arcanine is also very stupidly good in this matchup as well. Just a lot of pieces that Amel has that just can do a lot of work into the lightning. Chestnut also does a lot of good work in this matchup, but I don't fully feel confident enough that Chestnut's going to cut. But I would be surprised if it did over something else. Quaquaval definitely has the merit to show up, but I don't think it does. I don't think it really matches up that too super crazy into the team. Espeon definitely has some possibility of showing up. I definitely think with the fact that Matt did not draft, I'm pretty sure Matt did. He did draft a dark type, but that dark type being Ting Lu is actually one of the really best dark types out there. And also with having the steel type, I feel like Emel's being forced to run a lot of coverage, but I do think still come if he really wants to bring it. But next, let's talk about Matt's side here. Oh, excuse me. Great Tusk is definitely coming. Dual Stab does fantastic into Emel's team, which is really good. I think you're kind of forced to bring the Iron Crown. I think Iron Crown does a lot. It checks a lot of boxes in terms of the Pokemon that he needs to fight. I don't really think you're going to bring the Growlithe. I don't think the Growlithe is going to do really that well. I also think Impidimp doesn't necessarily do the best here in this matchup, but it's going to be something that um I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't do much for him for what he wants. It does give him like a normal type, but Petrot realistically doesn't need to always spam a shadow type move. Shadow type move. A shadow ghost type move to do work. Um Rage Radfarig. Radfarig could come. I don't think it's the worst matchup for it, but I don't know, man. We just that typing it has, it's just not gonna be the greatest. I mean, Iron Boulder does really well. Like Boulder with booster speed actually can just go insanely crazy in this matchup, which I think is really crazy. Zarude does pretty decently well into the matchup as well. He can kind of do a lot of things in terms of offensive. Mudsdale definitely think it's going to be a really good Pokemon and can really beat a good defensive check, but also don't sleep on it being offensive this matchup. I think offensively it does really well. Turtonator, don't really know if you're bringing Turtonator this matchup. It's kind of like, mm, mm, don't know. It's really up in the air for this one, but I will give the matchup to Abel. Oh, excuse me, guys. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I'm giving matchup to Amel just because I think Amel's like main three being Clef, even Max Caliber to an extent. Clef, Bax, Darkrai, Pecha is just so insanely hard for Matt to deal with offensively and defensively. So I do think that I have to give the matchup to Emil here. Emil just really has the tools needed to win this matchup. Up next, we got my boy Jason, aka Diet Tight, with the Ursulina Blood Moon, Iron Bundle, Azumarill, Slitherwing, Ticketson, Zarude, Noivern, Uxie, Muck, Pikachu, and Mischievous, where you take on Ant in the Sacramento Blings, baby, with Sneasler, Zapdos, Necrozma, Mamoswine, Hydreigon, Napoleon, Dizinity, Thwackey, Rigorep, and a Cryogonal. So, looking at Ant's team first, goddamn Sneasler's going to be a problem. Sneasler plus Zapdos does relatively well in most matchups, if not all matchups, that Jason can have in terms of his team composition. I do think the Cryogonal is decently solid into this matchup. Kind of helps do a lot of things for him and helps kind of be a much more of an offensive threat. I don't think you bring the Empoleon. Empoleon doesn't really match up too crazy into this team, even though Empoleon can do a little bit of this or that. Mamoswine also don't realistically know if it's going to be broad. It does do a lot of damage though and does a lot of work into most matches that you can see it do. DNC, don't really think that's going to be coming to this matchup. I don't think it really does a ton for what he needs. It has the coverage it needs to do stuff with, but I don't really know. Low-key, Thwackey is a threat. Thwackey is literally a massive threat to Jason. I think Jason, if Jason loses stuff like the Slitherwing and Tink, he actually can't just lose to Thwackey, which is funny. I don't know why I'm yawning a lot, guys. I apologize. But Farigiraf here, Farigiraf with Armor Tail actually can be really annoying to deal with. And it actually could be a bit of a problem for Jason to deal with as well if he's not careful. Krog is also not a terrible mon in this matchup, but again, with a couple of pieces here, I don't think it really realistically brought. I think matchup wise, I think Ant's team matches up fairly well, fairly decent into Jason's team. Where we got Jason here, where Blood Moon, like, look at this team. Where's your Blood Moon switching? And then if you have your switching, what's the Earth Power switching? The combination of Earth Power plus Blood Moon is just so goddamn free into this match. It's just ridiculous. Bundle also has a fantastic matchup here. I think the only thing the bundle is going to be stressing is about the potential of a Scarf Sneezer. So definitely something that's going to be experimented on here. Slitherwing does decently well for him. I really don't know why I'm yawning so much. Slitherwing does decent for him in this matchup, but I don't really know if he's gonna bring it. It's really tough to say. Just because Slitherwing, it just takes one protect to kind of cancel it out and go from there. Slitherwing also, I feel like is forced to be running things like Willow is, like Morning Sun this week, or Assault Vest, something like that. Azu, don't really know if this is an Azu matchup. Azu's not like the worst thing into the match, but I just don't think Azu matches up against a lot of things. Tink, definitely think you have to bring Tink this matchup just because Tink can kind of defensively counter a lot of things. Rude, I don't really think you bring it, but I wouldn't be too surprised if you did. Noivern, I think this is actually a solid Noivern matchup here. I think Noivern can do a lot for what we wanted to do in this match. Obviously, there's a few things that we have to kind of get past, but Noivern can do quite a lot of things. Uxie also a really good defensive pivot in this matchup, which I think it does a lot of work with and stuff like that. Don't think we're bringing the Muck. I don't think Muck does anything for us that would benefit us. It's not too terrible. Pikachu, not gonna lie, there's a part of me that wants us to run Pikachu this matchup. I don't know why, including the Mischievous. So I don't know. I think though, if we're looking at the matchup, Also, sorry, I'm kind of getting a little lazy near the end of these descriptions, guys. I don't know why. I'm just really tired. But we're gonna get these videos done, damn it. I am committed to BBR like everyone else is. So I will commit to my stats no matter how tired I am. So, hmm, really looking at the matchup, I feel like Ant could have a better game plan than Jason in this matchup. I feel like I gotta give credit to Ant for there because he does have a few ideas he can go. Oh, this is like a 50-50, man. Who do I want to give the slight edge to? Hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna give the tiny edge to Jason. Not just because, Jason's my guy and I'm helping him prep this season, but I think just because of Blood Moon and Bundle, Jason can really overwhelm Ant early game if he wanted to. So I really think Jason has the small edge, but Ant could definitely win this game. Ant proved that he can win a game in less than 5 minutes. So I realistically think that this is definitely going to be a very back and forth matchup here, but I'm going to give the slight edge to my boy Jason. All right, we've got the battle of Obo and D double. We've got my boy Obo here with Urshifu Single Strike, Iron Mob, Lander Starion, Rotom Wash, Jirachi, Cyclozar, Brambleghast, Galvantula, Sneasel, Florges. Rodell has got the Palafin, Blaziken, Archaludon, Thunderous, Shaman, Grimmsnarl, Piloswine, Meloetta, and Regirock and Haunter. Now, be granted, some of these teams will probably potentially change. Um, as these are some games that have been not played yet that I know of. Actually, these are two of the three games I know for a fact are not played yet. So I don't know if they've made any changes to the roster afterwards. So we're gonna go based off current roster. And not gonna lie, Owen's gonna get clapped by that Palafin. So let's talk about Dell's team here first. So Dell's team with Palafin, I think Palafin has one of the best Palafin matchups can have. Obviously, Rotom Wash he's going to force himself to be a physically defensive check, but again, there's obviously the coverage options to be able to beat the to have Palafin beat it. Otherwise, Palafin has really got no good switches besides things like Bramble Gas, but it does have the coverage to beat it, which is really tough. Same with Psychozar again without any extra Drain Punch. Blaziken is terrifying, but I would not be surprised to see a special Blaziken this week. A special does a lot more work into the matchup because it stops the Intimidate from Landers unless it's Clear Amulet, or it's running the Tech Adrenaline Orb with Acrobatic Swords Dance and being like, me, man, I've done that before and it's worked. Archaludon, don't really know if you're going to bring that. It's not the greatest matchup for it, but it's not the worst matchup for it, though, because its only big problem is dealing with things like Urshifu and Landorus, which is going to be a little bit problematic. Shaman, don't really know if you're bringing Shaman this matchup. Don't really think it does a ton of great work for you. Screens Grimmsnarl can be brought every single week, which is great. This is a pretty decent Piloswine matchup. I would not be surprised to see the Freeze Dry tech to be able to take on the Rotom 1v1 potentially. Other than that, Piloswine actually does decently good damage to a lot of things on their team. Meloetta, don't really think you bring that. I don't think it really matches up that well. Regirock, definitely not a Regirock matchup at all whatsoever. It can possibly come, but I don't really think it does. And then Haunter. Haunter actually is not terrible in this matchup. I think it's just dealing with two dirt types. I don't think it would be great. So, do you think Dell is a little pressed on Mons this matchup, but he has the offensive tools to do well with. Now, looking at Obo's team here, there is no good switching to an Urshifu. Excuse me. At all. Iron Moth also does relatively well here, but I don't fully feel confident. Oh, I went past Thunder Asterion for some reason. Thunder Asterion definitely could come. Looking at the Iron Moth has like a 50-50 matchup. I think you have to really be careful if you want to bring it, but I do think it's decently well. Landorus, don't really know if Landorus is a full-on bring, but I do think Landorus matches up decently well against a lot of things. But again, I just don't really know if it's going to be brought to this game. I'm next to have Rotom Wash, which definitely has to come to be a Rotom, to be a Palafin and Blaziken check, and even our Charizard check potentially. Just overall, is a really good check. Jirachi has a fair shot of being shown up in this matchup, but it's definitely going to be a little tough for Jirachi to really be scarf and just try to flinch hacks. Do you think you have to be a little more creative with the set? Cyclizar, don't really know if you don't bring it, but they do not have a good normal type resistance on Regirock, Haunter, and Chaladon. And only then, I only think one of the three comes, so it definitely could be the Archaladon. But with normal Dragon, you basically beat that thing 1v1, plus some of the other cover options you have help beat it as well, which I think is really good. Bramble honestly is not terrible on paper, but I don't realistically know if you bring it. Galvantula, I don't really think you bring webs. I think if you bring Galvantula, you're more so bringing it offensively than defensive or support. Sneasel kind of low key does relatively good work in this matchup. Sneasel actually can do a lot of great work and does a lot of great things for his team. But I really don't think Obo's team really is going to benefit from too much. Same with Florges. Florges is not like the worst thing actually, which actually their team doesn't have a fair resist. So actually Florges definitely could come. Specs Florges really does do a lot actually. So there's actually a lot of things to factor in here. But I'm going to go ahead and pick my boy Obo. I think I give it to Obo here, just because again, with the fact that Dell is kind of pigeonholed into his Mons again this week, I don't think he can really use whatever limited resources he has to win the game. But it is against Obo, so anything is indeed possible. But the reason why I picked Obo is I think just some of his top tier threats do a lot more better in the matchup than the top tier threats that Dell does. They can arguably be the same, if not, Dell might have it better than that. But overall, I think in terms of the team composition wise, I do think that Obo also has the very fair matchup of knowing exactly what he wants to do well. Now going to our last matchup here, we have got Keegan taking on T-Row this week here. And T-Row's team is Tornadus, Therian, Hiram, Slowking, Donphan, Ursaluna, Bronzong, Sylveon, Skuntank, Mienshao, and Flareon, while Keegan has the Meowscarada, Iron Hands, Volcarona, Screamtail, Landers, Lando Eye, Blastoise, Dragonite, Registeel, and Bruxish. Already looking at this matchup, Iron Hands is about to go dummy stupid in this matchup. Now I know there are a lot of people saying like, why would he bring Iron Hands when there is two ground types and a fairy type? Well, I believe in hands, so that's why I say that. But in all honesty, I think the speed investment that Keegan can run with hands actually works really well in this matchup. Meowscarada is going to be insanely hard for T-Row to deal with. Meowscarada does insanely well. Volcarona also doesn't do that terrible in this matchup as well. It does do things a lot really great. You can 1v1 quite a lot of things, do a lot of work. Screamtail is going to be extremely annoying for T-Row to break because his only steel type being Bronzong, which can be kind of predictable, and the poison type being Meow. But I do think Streamtail can actually run enough bolt to be, it doesn't matter on some of the checks that it has, that it can be able to take on things. Um, don't realistically think this is a Landorus matchup, but I could be proven wrong, and Landorus does have a decent enough matchup to where if it can get a gravity off, then it can beat the Bronzong 1v1. But other than that, I don't really think it can fit, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Keegan want to go with it and try it out himself. Blastoise, honestly, a Shell Smash Blastoise kind of cooks this team. Like, Blastoise really wrecks Rough Shot into this matchup. Dragonite, don't realistically think you're bringing Dragonite. I don't think it helps with you in a lot of ways. Wouldn't be terrible to see Broad, but I don't really think it does a lot of things for what it wants to do. Registeel, I don't think you're going to be able to be confident enough to bring, even though like you want to bring like an Iron Defense Weakness Policy set or Iron Defense Body Press. I think it's a little too tough to fit on this set and build, so I don't really think it brings that. And I think just based off of this matchup and what I've talked about, I'm actually going to pick Keegan for this week. I think just Keegan's like you look at his top two plus Blastoise, that just really looks so hard for T-Row to beat. T-Row does have some tools though that can be very much uh, used effectively by T-Row himself. But overall, I think Keegan, in terms of his team, will match up better into the matchup versus T Rose. So that is going to be the week three pickups. I do apologize for how kind of lazy and unprofessional sounding it looked like. I'm just very tired for some reason today. So I'm just going to go ahead and get some sleep. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section down below who is going to be your pick for this week as your choice. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and select my game of the week. My game of the week will be, in my opinion, D-Ray versus Owen. I think that matchup has a lot of good pieces going into each other. So I am going to pick them as my game of the week. So you've got your game of the week, ladies and gentlemen, to look forward to, and just a lot of great matches overall coming your way. But yeah, like I said though, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Good night, everybody.